Well, came out.
So what happened? So it's like
There wasn't any last time. And I forgot to move the camera. Usually I have the camera facing this way, $50 and stuff, and I move it. So last week was just like looking at through.
You know what?
Yeah. It's about that. Right, and it was just a good way to get to that. Hey, good morning. How are you? You've heard that from all the we all do.
You can live without me.
Get better and better. Slowly and surely. Been a minute for this coming. Yep. Yep. Right, on okay, granddad. Yeah. Please. Oh, I love that. I think he does. I've heard that. Things are good. Much better. They're not, good yet, but we're a couple, 2 months, and I think we'll be good. The business is coming in about as fast as it can. It is. Yeah, it is.
Yes, I had to be reminded.
Hey, good morning.
I've learned the hiring process.
Good morning, Gate City. Is this on? In case y'all haven't figured it out, I'm not mechanical at all. I believe that Gail is going to step in and have to do our invocation this morning. So when I asked last minute, all of us are in this meeting. Mine is what is worthy. And there's so many members, and all yesterday, and a little bit of history, Rotary started the position of one man, Paul Harris, the Chicago Rotary Coach, Chicago, 23rd, February 23rd, 1985. The professionals with diverse backgrounds have exchanged ideas and formed lifelong friendships. Over time, Rotary's reach and vision gradually extended to humanitarian service. Members have a long track record of addressing challenges in their communities around the world. Paul Harris said, whatever Rotary may mean to us, to the world, it will be known by the results it achieves. Think about what an honor it is to be a part of such a great group and all that it has achieved. So, with that, dear Father, thank you for being on this room. And we can pray for us as we go through this meeting. And pray that we can bless the
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
things we think, say, and do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Brad, you have our this morning? Brian. Here's Brad and Brian, you know.
I'm like, man, I don't have
Did you do your homework?
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for making it out on the first day after the first day. We have 27 Rotarians. I've not seen Zoom. We have one.
See.
We have 28 Rotarians. Frank Cheney. We've got some guests.
I do, absolutely. Joe, we stand up. I'd like to introduce Joanna Rivera. Joanna is the new Human Resource Director for Corey Corporation. She's got a very big job. I think most of y'all who met her today recognize that. I've been talking to her about Rotary and just thought I'd bring her in and let her get a taste of Gate City Rotary. So let's all welcome Joanna Rivera.
These guys are neighbors, so I got two for the price of one.
Thank you. Rick, do we have any birthdays?
Man, we do. We have 4 birthdays this week. No singing today. It's biscuit time one day. But Mike Cumming from Sunset Club had a birthday on the 14th. And Michael Langdon had a birthday on the 16th. And then we had Mark Brewer was here today. He's getting head start for his birthday. The 19th, and then another Sunset member, and that will be on the 19th as well. Club anniversary this week, so that concludes our birthday.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bobby. Do we have any? Oh, there's Buster. Buster, happy dollars.
I think Bobby.
Buster's back.
Happy dollars. I want one for Chris Jackson. Somebody give me one. Come on. Yeah, we need to leave y'all.
It's good to see you.
Great. I have one.
All right, well, let me get you. One more for Chris. Oh, one more for Chris. All right.
Please. Well, I'll have to Venmo mine. Well, I may have $1. This is for Kelly Harrell, the president, our area Rotary presidents. We meet occasionally and we have drinks, and several of us stayed for a fabulous dinner out at Grandover last week. And Kelly comped all of our drinks, which was a nice surprise. Always very generous to host us, and we really appreciate your generosity. So thank you.
He is generous.
Tom. Well, I'm gonna follow up on that. Most of y'all know I was in that president that several years ago, 2 years back, about that. Last week, the current national president came to visit our chapter, and we couldn't find a place to eat breakfast. We went to our local leaders to eat breakfast with the president. And I called Kelly. He accommodated us at a really nice breakfast. And then he said, well, does your president need a room? I said, yeah, I think so. I don't know what it's got. So Kelly put our current president on the suites, Randolph, and the next day at breakfast, he came to me and said, I don't know what you did. That's the nicest place I had stayed sitting all of my life.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
If you're not already, continue to play the rest of the year. All over the place on Chicago, in Maryland, next semester over in Florence. She doesn't stay put very long. I love getting her pictures. She reaches out often. What's that thing? Great. The pictures she sent are her handwriting. Switzerland, I said, how does that compare to the skydiving we did? She said, this is much easier. You just walk off the actual takeoff. So anyway, I continue prayers for the review. Very, very appreciated. I just wanted that in the First Victoria, she's just really enjoying the senior year. And it's no news, it's good news. She's moved from the goalie of field hockey to the field. I mean, so anyway, that's our update.
All right.
This may not sound happy, but it is. I shut it down 3.5 years cancer, 3 weeks life in the world. It turns out that he's considering an experiment on the experiment for doing medicine and all medicine to make it perfect. Bullshit. I responsible for some of this. I asked that I talk to another person on the planet first, and he's doing great. So God bless you. For so inclined, sure appreciate prayers for if anybody's ever had a child that's sick, that hour after that I take waiting to phone you, yeah, long as hour. Thank you.
The happy five, I got a couple. First is for Mayor Nancy Moss. I have just been so, it's been incredible to watch the energy that you have given to our community over your tenure as our mayor. The work that you've done behind the scenes to make things happen that we're all very proud of today. To think what happened with Boone, what's happened with the battery plant, what's happened with our aquatic center, and all the major unbelievable initiatives that has made Greensboro really just a great place to live. Having somebody like Joanna moving to the area and hearing these things, it's refreshing. So thank you so much for what you do. I know you don't blow your hand in. Our Sheridan Corey Convention Center, as you know, the last 2 years have been very difficult. But I just wanted to mention, because this is, it's other in our cap. Sheraton ranks all of their top 50 convention hotels in the country for service scores that come from our guests. They tell us how they feel about how we're doing. And through COVID, it was a really difficult time. But we managed to maintain our ranking of second or third in the country at top scores of all Sheratons. And in the last 4 months, we have been the #1 Sheraton in the country for service awards, which we're really, really excited about. So I'm happy to announce that. And lastly, Jennifer Jones, the Rotary International President, is in Greensboro today, tomorrow, at the Corey Convention Center. She's there for the PETS conference. If anybody wants to come over and meet Jennifer, an amazing Rotarian, come by and say hello. She'll be there today and tomorrow. Thank you.
This is a plug for our fundraiser. When people stand up and talk about it, you just have to ask why. I gave a few of my friends some sponsor packages, and lo and behold, one of them showed up on our silver sponsor. My friend Sean Kenny sponsored, so that was a real happy dog. I meant to ask him, hey, any interest, and I just gave it to him. He sent it with the check, I guess.
You're on the committee.
Granddaddy Lewis said, he said, grandma is furious with me. She claims that I ruined her birthday, which is ridiculous, because I didn't even know it was her.
Thank you. Last week, we several of us raised our hands to donate to Bikes for Kids so that we can raise $10,000 to sponsor a school. We didn't take names, and I only heard from 3 of you. So you have to raise your hand right now because our treasurer is taking names back there. There were 7 or 8 people in this room that raised their hand to donate $500. And I don't see any hands. I know there were a few others. Maybe they're absent today. Okay, well, come on, guys. We just need $5,000 to finish out and sponsor a school. So I will be harassing you and the others that aren't here. Thank you. Couple of announcements. District conference is April 29th, 30th. And then next week, we have our Lieutenant Governor, Mark Robinson, speaking here. Regardless of what side of the political aisle you sit on, you may want to just come and listen. Will be interesting, I think. And then we are looking for exchange families to host an exchange student in the fall and spring of this year and next year. So they do not have to be Rotarian families. So if you have friends, we just have to have, you can alternate 3 months at a time with other families. And they just have to be in the same school district. And so we have committed to host an inbound student. So please be thinking about who in your network would be willing to host a student. And then we also have, guys.
I just want to say, if anybody wants to share with Northern, I don't know, I mean, John, you might be the only one I know that's in Northern District, but I'm willing to host the exchange student if somebody from Northern wants to kind of split the year with me. Anybody live in the Northern School District?
Yeah, text me later and I'll see what I have to ask the boss.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
How many are there, please?
Excuse me?
How many are there coming?
Incoming? Well, I don't know at the district, but our club has agreed. Tony may know, because you had that up at the district level, right?
Yeah, I'm in the district for United States. So I know that we will get an inbound student somewhere in the summer. It's not known yet from where. And indeed, you need the whole families, and as you said, it's not exactly correct. It should be in one school district, the children are not allowed to stay in schools. So you have to find ideally 3 or 4 parents in the same school district, share them to 3 months one place, 2 months another, 2 months third.
But we may have to, and then Guy's neighbors back there. So he's the You may be the
Former
third one.
neighbor, he's the page, so.
Oh, okay, okay. And then just a reminder, the district will match dollars for Ukrainian donations to help the refugees. So if you're willing to donate, please see Dale, write a check, make sure you put what it's for so that he can account for it, and the district will match up to $5,000. So it's a great way to double your money. And with that, do we have any fundraiser announcements?
Only that we are doing medical as well. We have just about reached capacity with the grand opening. I certainly don't want to discourage those of you who are. We obviously want more sponsorships, but please. Last year, I would urge you to try to sell as many raffle tickets. Prior seating capacity. That's about it.
Thank you. And I would, after having been involved in fundraising a couple of years, if you've sponsored and you're not using your tickets, give them back to Steve so that we can either sell them or give them to folks that may want to come, because we are, I think, at capacity for the space there. So at this time, I am going to invite John Van Kemp up, Judge Hassel, and John's sponsor Guy. This is a special time. We want to induct John into our club. After a year of free breakfast, he is now.
Well, it is always a special time to induct a new member into our club, and at this time, I would invite our sponsor member, Dr. Guy Rabondo, up with a few introductory remarks about our newest member, John.
So John's a natural fit for our club. I'm sure many of you have gotten to speak to John. He does talk a lot.
Quiet, in spite of my wonderful dentist.
He's a natural fit because he has a heart to serve, and he has a desire to get back to his community. Successful businessman, which is what Rotary is built upon. So he's a perfect fit for our club.
Very good. And John, we do welcome you on behalf of the Board of Directors and our members. That welcome is sincere. And our welcome is not only in anticipation of the good fellowship we'll share with you here on Thursday mornings and during social outings and service projects. We welcome you for your strong arms and sturdy back, which will help us carry out our many service projects, which in a small yet significant way make our community, our country, and our world a better place for all to live. Now, for all here, Rotarian and non-Rotarian alike, let's be reminded of these important facts. First, Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Second, Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and the sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe they have a responsibility to help others. And third, Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as the moral compass for people throughout the ages, as well as the foundation for our great country. Well, Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that worldwide fellowship and international peace can be achieved when business people unite under the common banner of service. And so with that, I would at this time request everyone to please stand for the delivery of the following charge. You, John Van Camp, have been chosen for membership of the Rotary Club of Gates City. Your sponsor and fellow members to believe you to be a leader in your special line of work, and that you embody the qualities of head and heart that fit you to interpret and impart the message of Rotary. You are the representative of your vocation to this club, and at the same time, you now become an ambassador of the principles and ideas of service to those with whom you work, which you will carry. Additionally, we expect you to help inspire us, your fellow members, to become better Rotarians ourselves. And now with that, if we have the accoutrements of membership, Mr. Secretary, the pins and labels, barring that, we will say that.
I think they're in his car. He already apologized.
You should have waited for his heads up. Coming in.
We'll just go with a handshake.
With that, we will, barring that, he does have something for us. Our Secretary, Steve Scott. The instances of membership, including a certificate of the four-way test, perhaps even a temporary membership pin for you to wear, for others to see. And all of this is to help remind you of what it means to be a Rotarian. And with that, before we announce anything else, we will extend the right hand of fellowship and welcome, and allow us all to welcome you aboard. Welcome.
It's a Rotary thing that we're designated membership, so.
It is my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Nancy Vaughn. Nancy has been a longtime Greensboro resident, civic leader, dedicated to building stronger neighborhoods for the betterment of our community at large. Her emphasis in both her private and public life has always been on economic development and as a champion for communities with inadequate resources. As mayor, her key focus areas are public safety, neighborhood development, enhanced infrastructure, workforce development, and jobs. Nancy serves on numerous boards and commissions to better serve the people of Greensboro. She was elected mayor in 2013 and was previously a two-term at-large representative and a two-term District 4 representative. So we're pleased to have you here today and welcome. Thank you.
Good morning.
Great.
It is a pleasure to be here. I see so many familiar faces, and I hope faces that will be familiar in the future. I want to talk about some of the great things that are going on in the city, but I also want to leave times for questions and comments, because I think that can be the most valuable portion of any discussion. Last night, I was at Grandover. Seems like Kelly's getting a lot of business now, which is great. We were at Grandover to celebrate the boom announcement. That was an announcement that was 10 years in the coming, and it had actually been, as of last night, it was 10 years and one day that the group got together and went to Raleigh and said that they had this idea for a mega site, and that's what got the ball rolling. And the interesting thing about the mega site, the Greensboro Randolph mega site, is that there were 1,800 parcels that they had to put together. This was not land that was for sale. This was land that they identified that was occupied by people living there. And they made the commitment not to do eminent domain on any of those property owners, that they would come to some sort of a financial agreement with them. And it started out where everybody was offered 2.5 times their tax value. And I'll tell you, after seeing my last bill, I could be convinced for 2.5 times the tax value. So it was wonderful that all that happened without any eminent domain. And, you know, we all heard about the Toyota Mazda deal. And that truly was one of the most heartbreaking days of my life as a mayor. And when Brent called and told me we didn't get it, I almost thought it was a bad joke, because the night before we had just bought an extra 50 acres at their request. And when I was talking to him, he said, well, I'm going to have to go now, because I'm going to have to go see Jim Melvin in person and deliver this news. And as hard as it was for him to tell me that we didn't get Toyota Mazda, I know how hard it was to tell Jim Melvin that we didn't get Toyota Mazda. When we first started meeting, one thing that I was really impressed about was that all of the people around the table weren't talking about how they were going to make money or, you know, what they could do to line their pockets, but it was, how can we put our people to work? What can we do to raise the per capita income? It was always about economic development and what we were going to do for Greensboro and Randolph counties. And you know, I have to tell you, the cooperation between the two counties, and we're very different counties, really is something that I think people should look at. It has been an amazing relationship. I've enjoyed all of the people we've met at Randolph. They really made a big investment in their budget. They really went out. So I am very pleased that this Toyota battery plant was announced. I think it is really going to change economic development in Guilford County, because one thing that, you know, when you have a major OEM like that, they usually have a supply chain that comes with them. So for every job that is generated on the mega site, which right now the first phase is 1,750, they can usually account for 5 other jobs in the supply chain. So 421 is ripe for development. We have our water and sewer going down 421 to the mega site. The city of Greensboro, we will not receive property tax on these properties, but we know that we are going to receive all of the benefits of people living in our community, working in our community. So this is something that we're really looking forward to. 51 days later, we had the boom announcement. And I'm not sure who names their company Boom, but they are a great organization, and it is a supersonic jet manufacturer. And they are going to come to PTI Airport, and they are going to start off with 1,750 employees. This will be a jet that is similar to the Concorde. It is going to cut travel time down in half. It will be about 68 seats on the plane. It will be run by sustainable jet fuel. I can't tell you, I know what that is, but both of these companies are really committed to the environment and sustainability. Both of these announcements put us on the global market, which is really, really interesting. We have a bunch of other announcements that we've made. They've kind of gotten dwarfed by these 2 big mega announcements. We have other announcements in the pipeline. For the first time in the city's history, I believe, we are actually trying to pace when we announce something, because we want the employer who came in and made the investment to really reap the benefits of that announcement. And we've got so many right now, they were beginning to stack up on each other. So we are putting them out over a period of time. So this is something that is really good. I was talking to Mark. We do have an issue when it comes to housing. We have people from all over looking to build housing in our area. A few city council meetings ago, we did approve 1,600 units of housing, anywhere from starter homes to 500,000 townhomes. And then 2 meetings ago, there was another rezoning that was 1,600 homes. So we're getting them in the pipeline, but we know, since they're just getting built now, that they're probably 2 years off. But it is exciting. You know, it's kind of one of those good news, bad news. We have one of the hottest housing markets in the country right now, which is good news. But in another way, it's bad news, because there's no inventory left, and people moving here or wanting to move up are having a really difficult time locating housing, especially within the city of Greensboro. I think Kelly Marks told me that at one point in the last couple of weeks, we had 90 houses on the market. I mean, that is really amazing when you think of that. You know, that doesn't count the ones that are under due diligence and pending, but as far as houses that you could make an offer on, there were 90. And so it's amazing to see our real estate market moving like that. One thing that we are focusing on is these job announcements. We don't necessarily want people coming into the city and taking those jobs. We want to make sure that we are going to employ people who live here now. And that is a commitment that we made to the city and the county. Workforce development was a very big portion of both of these proposals. And they include a training center on both of the sites. The training center will be manned by people from GTCC and Randolph Community College and some of the other colleges, but the curriculum will be developed by the employer. The curriculum will be developed by Toyota and by Boom. So we make sure that we are training people for exactly what it is they need. And you should hear more about that within the next year. The good thing for the resident, for the student, is that it is at no charge. So that was part of the state's economic incentive to help us with workforce development. We are really focused right now on our next gen workforce, which is the 16 to 24-year-olds. The city of Greensboro will be opening up a new workforce development office specifically for that age group right across the street from the Melvin Municipal Building, because we want to make sure that people get out of high school. Not everybody is going to go to college or go into the military. They're looking at different routes. And we know that there are good jobs that people can get with a certificate, and we are bound and determined to make sure that people understand all the options that are available to them. One of the things that the police chief proposed last year, which was a resounding success, was a 500 jobs initiative. You know, he talked about kids in the summertime especially have a tendency maybe to have too much time on their hands, and they could maybe find themselves in some bad positions. So what we did is we recruited employers, and I will tell you, I called about 30 employers, and every one of them said yes. Corey said yes, that they would hire people for the summer. We were looking a minimum of 30 hours a week at a minimum $10 an hour. The only company that said no to me said no because they were working remotely and that they would do it this year. So we ended up with about 535 jobs last year. We expect to eclipse that number again. And it is a pleasure to work with the police chief on this initiative. You know, it's pretty hard when you call somebody and said, police chief has this initiative and he's wondering if you can hire somebody. Not too many people are going to say no to that. So I think it works really well being under the police department's umbrella. You know, we all know that public safety is a concern for everybody, and it is a national issue, and a lot of our statistics mirror what's going on nationally. Except last year, I do want to say that last year compared to the year before, our homicide rate was down 14%. That's not a great number. It's not something to brag about, but we're moving in the right direction. And right now, as of today, our homicide rate was lower than it was last year. Again, that's not something to brag about, but working closely with the police chief and his staff, making sure that they have the tools they need. We know that recruitment and retention of police officers and firefighters right now is extremely troubling. One of the things that I proposed, and it was endorsed by the police chief, was to make sure that our police officers have take-home cars. Most of the municipalities around us have take-home cars. And I remember the first time I brought it up, I think I lost on a 7-2 vote. But I am determined. I brought it up again, and that's I couldn't even get a second. But you know, I decided that this was an issue that was important. It was important to me. It was important to our police officers. It was important to the police chief. And the last time that I brought it up, it passed 9-0. And that was something that the police department was really grateful for. It made them feel that we appreciated them the way they do. And to those officers, that is like a $400 bonus every year. It's also good for us because if we need them to come in when they're on time off, they've got the cars with them. They can get in the cars, they can do their jobs. Otherwise, they have to go to the substation they're working out of. They have to transfer all of their stuff, their computers, their guns and everything else. So this is a benefit not only for the police department, but it is a benefit for the city of Greensboro. Also working with the police chief, he had heard about a program called Civilian and Traffic Investigators. And what it would do is if there was a traffic accident without bodily injury, if it was just property damage, that GPD trained non-sworn officers could go out and help that situation. It's being done in Wilmington very successfully, I think in Fayetteville. He thought that it would save roughly 17,000 man hours every year by able to deploy civilian investigators just in that area, which would free up our other officers to maybe stop some speeders, to maybe stop some red light runners, to be able to deploy the resources as he saw fit. Right now, it is stuck. It went through the House last year unanimously. It is stuck in the Senate Rules Committee. For whatever reason, somebody thought it was a defund the police movement, but it was actually a greater investment into our police budget, and it is at the request of the police chief. So we're hopeful that in the short session that we will be able to get that bill through. We think it's very important. One thing that the police department has done, we know that a lot of people who call the police department are not calling for a police-oriented issue. They're calling because they're having a family issue. They have a family member who is acting out or has a disability, or that they may be have a drug or alcohol program. In our police department, that's really not what they do. But we have started a co-response model where if Guilford Metro 911 feels that this isn't a police call, that it's more of a mental health call, that the police go out with mental health clinicians, which are now hired and embedded in the police department. These clinicians will be able to respond to what's going on in this particular family, and then the police will be able to leave. We think that's something that's really important because these clinicians are able to follow up with them to make sure that they get the health care or whatever it is that they need, that aftercare, which our police department really isn't designed to do. So those are a few things that have happened in the police department in the last year, which I think are very important. We do recognize that public safety is probably the #1 concern on everybody's mind. It used to be that jobs and economic development was the #1 thing. I think people are feeling comfortable with jobs and economic development right now. Those jobs did not happen overnight. They didn't happen because an election is coming up. They happened from years and years of work. These were targeted investments in workforce and water and sewer and roadway. So it's great to see that all of those target investments right now are paying off. And we look forward to what that future growth looks like. We know that we have to diversify and that we have to support small and medium-sized businesses. We know what happened in the recession when we lost the tobacco, textile, and furniture jobs. We can't put all our eggs in one basket. We have to lift up the small businesses because they are the ones who really put the majority of people to work. So we've got a three-pronged plan to focus on small business, medium size, and then these large mega announcements. We are making sure that we, in a few years from now, we're not going to be in the same position that we were in the 2000s. So I'm really, as you could tell, excited about what's going on in the city, but I don't want to just stand here and talk. I'd rather hear what you have to say or what questions you have. And I don't think this looks like a shy. Yes,
Are you considering office beyond mayor in the future?
no. My family is here, my grandchildren are here. I have 5 dogs. Bringing 5 dogs somewhere is a challenge, but I love the city of Greensboro. My roots are deep here. And I like being closer to the residents so that when I'm in a grocery store or a carpool line, people come up and tell me really what's impacting them and how I can make a change. You lose that as you go further up or further away. Yes, sir.
For the size of our city, do you think the council structure of leadership is effective? Or should it be more top, I guess I've heard this before, that it's harder to take massive action when you have to get 9 people to agree versus having a stronger leader that can direct down. What are your thoughts on that?
So we do have 9 people, 5 are in a district, 3 are at large, and a voting mayor. I like that. There was a time where there was a bill that had come out of Raleigh that was going to try to redistrict us. And I think that would have taken your representatives further away from you. What this 9-person council allows you to do is that if you have an issue, you control your 5 votes out of 9. So when a neighborhood comes, when you have an issue, you've got more people that you can contact and say, you are my elected representative. If we change that a little bit, and then you can only represent 1 or 2 people on the council, I think that kind of dilutes your voice. So I personally like the fact that you get to vote for a majority of council members. Yes.
You were talking about the boom plan or the boom project. How does Greensboro make sure that the residents get Persist versus out-of-state people get jobs?
Well, so part of that goes back to the workforce development, that we are training our residents specifically to fill those jobs. We also have 2 different incentives that they can avail themselves are. And one is if they hire somebody through our workforce development office, they get a $250 credit for that job. And if they hire somebody from our distressed census tracts, they can get another $500 per job. So when you've got 1,750 jobs, you can parlay that into some significant money by using those 2 different incentives that we offer.
So, follow-up question. So will it be based on the tax credit or the merit? Or when they hire people?
So obviously they want to hire people who are qualified for the job. So if they hire somebody through our workforce development office, they will go through that training program. And then we audit that they kept the employee. So it's not like they can say, they can't hire somebody and then get rid of them in 90 days. We audit to make sure that they have kept them at least for a year before we start paying that incentive. One thing about incentives that people may not realize is that when a company gets an incentive, we don't run down the hall and write a check. It is usually paid in arrears, and they're performance-based incentives. So they're based usually on how many jobs they're going to provide, at what level. We don't incentivize anything under $15 an hour. And their investment, if they say that they're going to invest $68 million, we make sure they do those things before we start writing them the checks. And basically the incentive is a rebate on the property taxes they would have paid. For whatever reason, Judge, maybe you can answer this, our legislature doesn't allow us to call it a rebate, but that's basically what it is. They have to pay in before they get the money. Judge, since I just called on you.
It was a surreal experience for me last week, watching from hotel lounges and airports in Phoenix and Chicago, a certain basketball tournament that I grew up with, watching either in person or here in Greensboro for the better part of the last 20 years. And the tournament, of course, was in Brooklyn, New York. And I know a number of people in this room may not be as familiar with your own pedigree about the Atlantic Coast Conference. If you could talk just for a minute about that and what efforts you have undertaken in the recent months to keep that great ACC here and calling Greensboro home.
I'm excited about the proposal that we put forward, and Kelly is on our team trying to retain the ACC. What Robbie was referring to is that I moved to Greensboro because of the ACC. My dad, Fred Barricat, was director of men's basketball for a long time. So the conference, the tournaments, that is all near and dear to my heart. So right now, this is more than an economic development issue. It is a point of pride. It was interesting. If any of you follow social media and tweets, some of them were actually hysterical coming out of Brooklyn on how bad it was and how empty it was. And we can't wait to get back to Greensboro. And next year, we will be the first city to host 2 major championships, the women's ACC, the men's ACC, and the first 2 rounds of the NCAA. We will be the first city to do that trifecta. We would have done it in 2020, except it got stopped because of COVID. We feel that we put together a very strong proposal. Every problem that they threw in front of us, we found a way to go over or around. And initially, they said that they were going to announce something last week. Now we don't know when it is. It'll be sometime in April. And I think what that proves is we gave them such a competitive proposal that even the colleges, because this decision will be made by the chancellors and presidents of the 15 schools. And we know that there are some, with the expansion, there are some schools who don't want to stay here. But I think we've even made it hard for them. So we'll see as time goes by. When the decision is announced, we will be real happy to show everybody what it was that we proposed. And I think that this city will be proud of what the offer was on the table. Yes.
Well, I worked in Greensboro, pay a lot of taxes here, actually, live in Summerfield. We have a major developer out there trying for the 8th time in 10 years to build this development that needs water from Greensboro or somewhere. What's Greensboro's water situation? A few years ago, we had shortages in water along, and now all of a sudden we're talking about what he thinks we're talking about, supplying 7 miles of line, homes, 3,900 homes. What is Greensboro's water situation?
So we are really good when it comes to water right now. The issue is sewer. That we have to be much more careful on where we deliver those assets. We did have some conversations with Mr. Couch. I think he's got a great plan. But the city of Greensboro, we can't afford to run that infrastructure to Summerfield. We can't annex Summerfield, so we wouldn't get any property taxes. And it would take years and years to pay back what it would cost to run the lines to Summerfield. I think they also have approached the county if the county might build some infrastructure. We haven't had any conversations in a very long time. And since those initial conversations, all of these announcements have broken, and we need to make sure that we can supply adequate water and sewer to people within Greensboro, within our immediate growth area, and to those spin-off businesses coming down 421. So there are no plans at this point to do anything.
Just make a comment. Greensboro's really excited right now. The president of Guilford Tech, where I work, just announced that we're doing a scholarship. And starting next year, students who go to Guilford County schools will not pay out of pocket more than $500 to come to school there. And so it's a very exciting time for the school, and the aviation program has got some plans too with all this coming.
It is a very exciting program where people can now go to GTCC starting next year, as you said, and pay no more than $500. Unfortunately, that announcement was made the same day we announced boom.
Yeah.
So it kind of got lost in the shuffle. Maybe it needs to be re-announced so people understand, but that is a great benefit. You know, I didn't even really mention one of our biggest economic generators, which is the Tanger Center. How many of you have been to Tanger? It's a pretty good number, but it looks like more of you could go. You know, as of last week, we had over 276,000 people visit Tanger already. That was over 150 shows. The Lion King broke national records for the amount of tickets sold. We are going into Hamilton, I believe, in a week or two. I can't begin to explain how I felt the first time that I went to Tanger and heard somebody perform. We made a lot of promises about what this performing arts center would do. And you can't always deliver on every single promise because life gets in the way and stuff. But Tanger delivered on every single promise. We have the best sound system in the country. On my way to the office yesterday, the streets in Greensboro were closed off because school buses were coming in, dropping off kids so that they would be able to see a performance. If you haven't gone, you need to go. There are a whole variety of things that have been booked. Some of them I questioned Matt Brown, our Coliseum director, when he booked The Price is Right. I was like, Matt, come on, you know, a $93 million building and we're booking The Price is Right. He said it sold out in 24 hours. I said, okay, can we do it again? So, there are a wide variety of things to see.
This Vaughn, our family is a long time theater buff, and we've been to shows in Charlotte, we've been to shows in Raleigh, we've been to shows wherever going back 30 years. And I will tell you, Tanger Center is a first-class facility.
Thank you, thank you. And it has generated an amazing buzz. When DPAC first opened, there were 5 restaurants in downtown Durham. Pre-COVID, there were 53. We see that type of interest here. You know, we have to make sure that we've got the real estate where people can go. The biggest complaint I get is on Sunday nights. People who have tickets on Sunday nights, there aren't a lot of things open downtown. Now, one thing that the Coliseum did to fix that, because like I said, if we see a problem, we go over or around, is that you could actually have dinner at Performing Arts Center prior to the play. So, you know, they have a nice dinner that you can eat upstairs in the lounges. They've got a full bar if you wanted to get a drink beforehand. So in the meantime, we're trying to figure out how to fill that need. Yes.
Talked about how Boom, the battery plant, some of these big announcements were in the pipeline for years and years and years, and they've come to fruition. Can you, at a high level, comment on things that you might see in 3 to 5 years that are being worked on and developed now?
I could comment on a couple of things that we'll see within the next couple of months. There is a large company that will hopefully announce in the next few weeks. I always joke that I want everything announced before May 17th because that's the primary. So, but we have another 1,000+ employer who will make an announcement in the next few months. And then we've got what I call a lifestyle announcement, which is a type of company that that cities throughout the country compete for. And I think you'll hear that in the next couple of months. And, you know, that is in addition to the, you know, after Boom, after the rumor of Boom happened, within the next few weeks, speaking to Kevin Baker at the airport, they already had 10 companies who are interested in being out at the airport. So you're gonna see things easily over the next few years.
This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Rob, our queen of course.
Oops, sorry.
5548.
Did anybody else get to buy one?
There you go.
No, we can't.